Now, you may recall in the lead-up to the Wentworth by-election last week, the Prime Minister announced quite a significant shift in Australia's foreign policy. No final decision, but he certainly opened the door to Australia moving its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He said it had nothing to do with the Wentworth by-election, but was inspired by the Liberal candidate there, Dave Sharma. Either way, it was certainly seen rather cynically as a move to win some votes amongst Jewish voters in Wentworth. Today, at Senate estimates hearings in Canberra, Labor's been unpicking exactly how quickly this decision was taken to announce this policy shift by the Prime Minister. It emerged that the Foreign Minister, Marise Payne, was only told the day before the media were first briefed.
So let's just get this chronology. The announcement is made on on Tuesday the 16th. Media are briefed, we know, on Monday the 15th. At some point later in that day. And you were advised, you had a discussion with the Prime Minister on Sunday the 14th.
Correct. But that was our first discussion on the specific issue, yes.
Did you express concern to him?
I'm not going to go into the details of my conversations with the Prime Minister, Senator.
Can the Prime Minister confirm that his government told the media of his Jerusalem embassy announcement before it told the acting chief of the Australian Defence Force, or indeed told a single official from the Department of Foreign Affairs? And can the Prime Minister confirm the first discussion he had with his Foreign Minister about moving the embassy, a major foreign policy decision, was just 48 hours before the announcement?
I consulted with all the ministers of the National Security Committee before I indicated one simple thing, and that is that I found the arguments of the Liberal candidate for Wentworth, the former ambassador to Israel, Dave Sharma, who had put forward a very, I think, convincing proposition that in advancing a two-state solution that we could also consider the possibility of recognising the capital of Israel being Jerusalem.
So is the idea itself of shifting the embassy going to help in the peace process and help deliver what Australia and many other countries want, and that is a two-state solution in the Middle East? We know Donald Trump has shifted the American embassy to Jerusalem. That happened earlier in the year. With me now is retired Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser. He's the Director of the Project on Regional Middle East Developments at the Jerusalem Centre for Public Affairs, formerly the Director General of the Israeli Ministry of Strategic Affairs and Head of the Research Division of Military Intelligence in the Israeli Defence Force. Thank you very much. Welcome to Australia.
Thank you very much.
Now, do you take a view on whether it would be helpful for countries like Australia to shift their embassy to Jerusalem?
Yes, I think that the more countries shift their embassies from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the better it is for the peace process. Because until now, there is a tendency on the Palestinian side to base the peace process on all kinds of assumptions that are totally detached from reality. Because the Israelis cannot accept these assumptions, they just refrain from coming to the negotiation table. They have to get a message from the international community. And President Trump was the first to send this message, but even the Russians did the same. They recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. So did the Czech Republic and other countries. And the more messages they get, and especially from Australia, I think it's very important that these are not only 3 or 4 countries, but the rest of the international community is following suit. I think this message is very important for the Palestinians to understand that they have to do that. And between us, Jerusalem is the capital of Israel.
So, I mean, given the United States is the global superpower, what impact has it had on negotiations, on the peace process, shifting that US embassy to Jerusalem?
It didn't have so far so much impact because the Palestinians still believe that when time will pass by and this demand to admit reality will
just to be clear on that, so it hasn't
evaporate.
It hasn't helped yet.
It hasn't helped, but it hasn't caused any damage yet, because the Palestinians refrain from coming to the negotiating table in the last 10 years. So this has not yet caused any change in their position. But it did cause them, force them, I would say, to realize that they have to reconsider their position. And they are reconsidering it. So far,
are they? Because
not changing it yet.
We saw another rocket attack against Israel was it yesterday? And Israel responded overnight with 8 targets hit in Gaza. So it doesn't look like we're moving towards peace.
This is a different story. This is the Gaza Strip is a different story from the peace process. And there are 2 parallel and almost totally unrelated stories. What we have in Gaza is a brinkmanship situation where the Hamas that controls Gaza tries to put pressure on Israel, first of all, in order to hit Israelis, and secondly, in order to force Israel, in order to avoid this hits on Israel, to speak with the Egyptians, so the Egyptians will speak with Mahmoud Abbas, that Mahmoud Abbas will give money to Hamas. That's the process they are trying to promote. Israel is trying to speak with the Egyptians, that we do, but Mahmoud Abbas refuses to listen to the Egyptians and to give help to the Hamas in Gaza.
So just to be clear, though, what difference would it make if Australia did this, if we shifted our embassy?
If you shifted your embassy, the message to the Palestinians will be very clear, and in their reconsideration of the situation of the peace process, they will understand that there is no other way but coming back to the negotiation table and conducting negotiations based on realities and not on dreams.
Should Israel, though, give any ground in response for this international move, countries like Australia to do this, give Israel what it wants, and that is recognition that Jerusalem is the capital, that the embassy should be there? Should Israel give any ground for that?
I don't think we should give ground for that. We are anyhow committed to the peace. We want to see a two states to two peoples solution, not just two states, because we have to understand the Palestinian version of two-state solution is that one state is the Palestinian state and the other is not a Jewish state. It's a state of some unknown people called the Israeli people. That's the Palestinian version based on those totally detached from reality assumptions. So Israel is very much interested in moving forward towards peace that would enable Israel not to be seen as ruling over the Palestinians and to help the Palestinians find a way to govern themselves in a way that doesn't cause threats to Israel's security.
What about East Jerusalem? Should that be home to a Palestinian capital?
That is something that we should discuss in the negotiations. That's what we're saying again and again. President Trump, when he recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, he also said the exact arrangements that are going to be in Jerusalem should be discussed between the parties, and whatever they decide upon is fine with me. And I think the Australians should adopt the same policy, because the details of the agreement should be agreed upon between the parties. Nobody can replace them. And we should sit with the Palestinians and see what's going to happen.
The other thing the Prime Minister here said last week, Australia's not party to the Iran nuclear deal, but we're willing to now review our support for it. What is your view of this Iran nuclear deal?
Well, I fully agree with the President of the United States and with the Prime Minister of Israel and with the leaders of the Arab Sunni states that this deal is a disaster. And because this deal was signed in a way or made in a way that guarantees that the Iranians will have an arsenal of nuclear weapons in 15 years when it was agreed upon, in 12 years from now. And since in the last 3 years, the Iranians kept breaching the deal by not giving the information about their the military dimensions of their nuclear project. And since in those 3 years, the Iranians kept moving forward with the missiles and kept moving forward.
So there is evidence it's breached the deal?
Of course. We found and we brought to Israel all the trove of documents that were kept in the archives of the military project in Tehran. That was an unbelievable operation by the Israeli intelligence. And the fact that they kept it is by itself a breach of the deal. They were supposed to give to the IAEA all the documents and everything that relates to this. And they were, in the preamble of this deal, they said that they will not try to have ever any military nuclear capabilities. If you don't want to have military nuclear capabilities, why do you keep in your storage all the documents that are necessary in order to resume this project once you get to the sunset in 15 years, which is 12 now, and have the capability to enrich uranium to military grade? You have the capability and the legitimacy to have heavy water reactors, the fastest way to a bomb. You have the ability to enrich as much uranium to a military grade. It's unbelievable that anybody would believe that such an agreement would prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Actually, it's a sure way to a nuclear arsenal, not only one weapon.
Can I turn to the tensions right now in the region between Turkey and Saudi Arabia over the murder, the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist? The United States is still contemplating a full response to this, but part of the conversation is about whether the arms deal, the huge American arms deal with Saudi Arabia, should be suspended or cancelled. What's your view on this?
Well, I think the Saudis definitely did here a horrendous and a totally deplorable act. But at the same time, we have to remember what's happening in the Middle East. There's a big battle inside between the Muslims of the Middle East, between pragmatic forces. Saudi Arabia is a major partner in this group of pragmatic forces, and the radical forces, both the ultra-radical like ISIS and Al-Qaeda and so on, and the more realistic radicals like the Muslim Brotherhood, including Erdogan on the one side, and the Shiite realistic radicals like Rouhani and Zarif. And these people are saying we should change the world order as soon as possible, but we cannot change it right now. So we should wait a little bit. And they take advantage of the mistake, of the terrible mistake of the Saudis, you know, to weaken the pragmatists, and strengthen the radicals. I think that we should not support this attitude. We should
a terrible mistake.
Strengthen the pragmatists.
Terrible mistake. To put it mildly, your fear is that this could really tip the balance?
No, but it can change the tide.
Yeah.
Because the tide was until now, until a certain point, it was that the radicals were gaining power. Ever since Trump came to power, the tide changed. It started changing beforehand when Sisi replaced Morsi as the president of Egypt. And when MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, became the crown prince in Saudi Arabia, the tide has already started to change. But the policy of the United States, the change in the policy of the United States, enforced the radicals to feel under pressure and helped the pragmatists. Now the tide can change a little bit, at least for a while. It depends on how the West reacts to that. I think that what we can expect from the pragmatists in this position is to take some steps in order to mitigate the damage, to control it. And this can be seen what they're doing with raising the production of oil, that they were not ready to do that before. And I hope they will also find a way to get or promote some moves on the peace process, like they did, if you remember, back in 2001 after the 9/11 attack. The Saudis, in order to compensate for their damaged image, came up with the Prince Fahd peace plan between Israel and the Palestinians. If they will now act in this domain again, it will be most welcome.
We will see. We will see. Yossi Kuperwasser, good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of your visit in Australia.
Thank you very much.
Now to Donald.